Well, each summer, the Miami Coalition of Christians and Jews offers a unique experience for 50 high school students throughout Miami-Dade County. For 1 week, teens at Camp MetroTown get a chance to build relationships with others from different backgrounds, taking part in workshops covering topics such as racism, homophobia, and sexism, all in an effort to break down barriers and bring the community together. Here to share more is former camper Brian Siegal, now Regional Director of AGC, Global Jewish Advocacy of Miami and Broward County, and Miami-Dade high school student Trey. He's one of this year's Camp MetroTown delegates, also a former camper. Gentlemen, thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you.
This is a really cool camp. And Brian, I'm going to start with you. Before we get to Camp MetroTown, you actually participated in something very similar when you were growing up as a boy in Birmingham, Alabama. So tell us about that.
I did. It was called Camp Anytown, and it was very similar to MetroTown. It was a phenomenal experience. It had a lasting impact on me. It took me out of my daily life where I was living and brought me together with kids from many different backgrounds and walks of life, and allowed us to have time to get to know each other, to learn from each other, to understand our different backgrounds and heritages. It's Camp MetroTown and Camp Anytown that I attended is really unique because it really gives you that chance to stop in your daily life, learn, grow as a person. It's the confidence that you gain by being able to speak about your own background and heritage. And it's also the empathy you gain by listening to other people's stories.
So you left there feeling very proud of who you are, because some campers go in sort of ashamed sometimes of who they are. And it changed your life, didn't it?
It really did.
Yeah.
It gave me a sense of who I am and who I wanted to be. And it gave me a path where I realized that when people come together, despite our differences, and especially relevant now when I think there's so much in our society that tears us apart, but to sit down with somebody across from you and to share the most meaningful parts of your background and your life and who you are, and honestly and sincerely listen to them and what they're going through, and trying to realize you have so much in common, and you also should appreciate what you have and how you can be helpful to others.
Trey, talk about your experience with Camp Metro. How did you get involved with this in the first place?
Right, so I got involved when my assistant principal, Mrs. Claret, had asked me if I wanted to participate in a possible summer program, I wanted to apply, or what have you, and I thought it was an amazing idea. I met Heather Burdick, who was the camp director at the year I attended, and she told me about it, and she told me much similar to what Brian was describing, and this transformative experience, and I was like, huh. That sounds really cool, you know? I couldn't think of a better way to spend 1 week of my summer. And honestly, it was life-changing. I think it was a really cool decision.
So we're looking at some pictures from Camp MetroTown, and walk us through some of what we're looking at, because it looks like people are singing, they're putting on performances, we've seen people drawing and coloring. Tell us a little bit about what actually happens there.
Right, so in the pictures you see that we are sharing our talents and sharing what we love to do, because at camp what they really focus on is breeding that understanding and sense of diversity. There's more to someone than what you see when you first make eye contact, or first see someone enter a room. There's so much more to their story. And a lot of the workshops we did were about breaking down boundaries, as Brian said, and it was about really getting to know who we were on the inside, aside from the labels. So just because I am this way and I was raised here with this much in my name, it doesn't mean that we don't have a lot in common. Some of the activities we did were one being Privilege Walk, which was for us to understand the term privilege. And most people kind of have a negative association with the word, and that it must be an attack or an insult, but it's not. It simply means to have something accessible to you that someone else may not. And I believe that because I was always told that there are so many things working against me, being African American, being queer, being whatever, that I would be at a disadvantage compared to my friends. And one of my best friends, Esther Alice Lopez, who attended with me, when we had to do the activity, I thought that it would show that I was just not as good, or that she wouldn't like me as much. But that was completely ridiculous. And it turns out we have so much more in common than we ever did apart.
Yeah, we talk about diversity, but we're also talking, Brian, about finding common ground, the things that we're alike, that we share, right?
Absolutely, and I think what Trey describes is so beautiful, and that hope that you can gain. So it's the sense of confidence and that sense of empathy, but it's also empowerment. It's that hope that you take away from the experience. And for me, it's really served me incredibly well. So some of the work I'm doing now, reaching out to the Muslim community on behalf of the Jewish community, and seeing the work that MCCJ does and partnering with us on so many things, it gives you that hope to realize that, as Trey said, boundaries are not there to stop you.
not
You have
there.
to figure out how to break through.
Is this a free camp? Tell us about the funding related for this camp.
So the camp is, I believe, mostly subsidized, but
Okay.
that's why MCCJ works hard to raise the funds that it does, because it needs to be able to provide some of the students the opportunity to attend. So some students will, I believe, pay, and some are subsidized.
Okay. And they go all week. Go ahead, Trey. You were going to say something.
Right, I was going to step in on that one. The camp is completely free of charge. They do have an application fee of about $25. If you want any more information, we do have applications still open, and all the information is still on the website at miamiccj.org. And there, you are free to apply. We still have some spots open, and we're definitely loving to have kids. Financial barriers are not a thing we like to impose at Camp MetroTown. Like we said, barriers should not be anything to stop you.
Absolutely. Thank you, gentlemen, both of you, for bringing this awareness to us about Camp MetroTown. Awesome, awesome program. And for more on Camp MetroTown, as Trey was just saying, and to apply, visit miamiccj.org/MetroTown. We're going to have all the information for you on our Facebook page at Your South FL.